Dear students, I am coming with a new set of videos that is on income tax. This is important for two aspects. One is I am giving this assessment year's income tax videos, that is assessment year 25-26. Second one is I am using the blackboard, so you will feel like you are sitting in my class. So that is the importance of this series of videos, and I know that it will be really useful. So we'll go to the first module. I am giving some basic introduction about income tax. Now, first we will see the structure of the Indian tax system. It's a three-tier system where central government, state government and local bodies are involved. That is why it's called a three-tier system. Then if you see the broad classification of tax, we have two types of taxes. One is direct tax and one is indirect tax. Now what is direct tax? Direct tax is collected by Central Board of Direct Taxes. It's very important concept. Central Board of Direct Taxes. We'll be using this term always. And it's paid by individuals and companies. When I'm paying my income tax, it's a direct tax. When a company is paying their corporate tax, it's a direct tax. Now, why it is called a direct tax? Because there is no middleman involved. The payment from the taxpayer is directly going to the government. Whereas indirect tax, you have to remember, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs are collecting that. Then it's paid by consumers. Whenever we are buying something or we are accepting the services of some companies, we are paying GST. That is the indirect tax. So there is a middleman involved. Why? We are not directly paying what they are doing. We will pay to the shopkeeper and shopkeeper will pay to the government. So there is a middleman involved. That is why it's called the indirect tax. Now examples of indirect tax: GST, customs duty, excise duty to a certain extent. Because you know that when GST was introduced, most of the indirect taxes prevailing in our country is not there now. So excise duty to a limited extent also we can say that it's an indirect tax. Now tax administrative structure. I told you there are three levels. Central government, if you see that, CBDT, that is the Central Board of Direct Taxes, and CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes. Direct and indirect taxes coming under the central government. That is, they are working under the Ministry of Finance. Now, state government, state commercial departments, then local bodies. When you're buying a vehicle, you're paying a tax to the government, state government. That is an example for state tax. Local bodies, municipal corporations, panchayats, development authorities, Bangalore Development Authority, Cochin Development Authority, Delhi Development Authority, they all collect tax. That is for property tax, water tax, etc. So this is the three-tier structure. Now, what are the constitutional powers? Why we are paying tax? When somebody is paying tax, they feel that if I am paying income tax, I feel that that money belongs to me. My hard-earned money. Why somebody is taking it from me? So that is that feeling we will get. So why we have to pay tax? So one thing you have to remember: whatever tax collected by the government, they are using for the developmental activities of the country. Good infrastructure, good government hospitals, metro, airport, railway stations, railway service, all these are provided by government through the tax collected. That is one thing you have to remember: when you are paying tax, government is collecting from us and they are utilizing for the developmental activities of the country. So if you look at the constitutional powers, Constitution is giving the power to levy tax. Article 265 says no tax shall be levied or collected except by authority of law. If the Constitution is not giving power to state, central or local bodies, they cannot collect tax. Seventh schedule divides taxation powers into union list, state list and concurrent list. Union list is income tax, customs, excise, corporate tax are all coming under union list. State list, stamp duty, property tax, state excise on alcohol for human consumption and VAT on petroleum. VAT is value added tax on petroleum. You know that GST is not charged on alcohol for human consumption and value added tax on petroleum and diesel. Now, concurrent list, this is the term we are using for the GST. So, GST is introduced in our country through the 101st Amendment, Constitutional Amendment. Now, what is the meaning of concurrent list? So concurrent list, it contains subjects of common interest to both union and state governments. When GST was introduced in the country, lot of indirect taxes were there in our country. Some were collected by central government, some were collected by the state government. GST has merged everything into one duty or one tax. Now you have to remember, till now also, central government has the power to collect GST for certain transactions and state government is also collecting. Some cases within the state, between the states, like that, the tax is divided between central government and state government. So we have to remember that there is central government also has certain powers, state government also has some powers. So both the central government and state government can make rules or the laws on the same subject. But you have to remember, in case of a conflict, what they will do. So in case of a conflict, in the case of GST or any other law, the law made by the parliament prevails over the central or the state law. So this is as per Article 254. So Parliament has the right. When we introduced GST also, 101st constitutional amendment was made in the Parliament and then the GST was passed in our country in 2017. Now what are the important milestones? 1860, Sir James Wilson introduced income tax in our country. We know that we were under British rule and Britishers conquered our country and they were trying to capture other countries through war. So they wanted finance for their war activities. So that is how income tax was introduced in the country in 1860. Second is 1886, Income Tax Act of 1886. First act of income tax was passed in our country under the British rule. 1922 Act gave more powers to central authorities. So central authorities got more powers through 1922. Now 1961 Act, that is the present Income Tax Act. So the present Income Tax Act has enacted in the Parliament in 1961. Now 2004 PAN was made compulsory for all taxpayers. PAN means it's the permanent account number. So you have to remember, now we have all the transactions, we have to quote Aadhaar card and PAN number. So here Aadhaar number and PAN number are important when you're buying a property, when you're buying a vehicle, when you're paying a tax, when you're booking a ticket, anything like that. It's an identity. So 2004 permanent account number was made compulsory for all taxpayers in our country. 2022 optional new tax regime was introduced. We know that we have two regimes now, one is old and one is new. Now 2022 the new tax regime was introduced. Now coming to the last topics which I am going to explain in this module, documents related to income tax. One is Income Tax Act 1961. This is the present Act 1961. So this Act will give all the important provisions regarding how our income can be charged. What are the heads of income? What are the deductions? What are the perquisites? What are the allowances? How it can be valued? How exemptions are allowed? Everything. Whereas Income Tax Rules 1962, that is related to the administration. The Act will give the provisions. This Income Tax Rules 1962 will give how it can be practically implemented, how filing of tax returns are made, how exemptions, any change in exemptions, how these provisions can be implemented, that is based on Income Tax Rules 1962. Now, Annual Finance Act, you have to remember, this is the budget presented by the Finance Minister, Central Finance Minister in both the houses of the Parliament. We know that for last 2-3 years, February 1st, they are presenting the budget. So earlier we had two budgets, one was railway and one was finance. So now you have to remember, two budgets are merged into one and our now present Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman ji, will introduce the budget for that year on February 1st. So this will be debated in both the houses of the Parliament. After the discussions and approval by both the houses of the Parliament, the President will give the approval. Then it will become an act. So that is the Annual Finance Act. Every year it will change. It will change based on the present condition of the economy or present requirements, tax collection requirements. See, for example, any calamities like COVID and all, they will add provisions, they give relaxations, everything related to that. Any natural calamity, anything like that, the budget will explain all that and they will include provisions for that. The last one is circulars and notifications issued by CBDT. I told you CBDT, it's coming under the central government and it is for the direct tax. CBIC is for the indirect tax and they're working under Ministry of Finance. So in case of any change government wants to make, they will not wait for the annual budget to make the provisions or changes. They will issue notifications from time to time through Central Board of Direct Taxes, and then that will be applicable for everyone living in the country. So this is the power. So four important documents: Income Tax Act 1961, Income Tax Rules 1962, Annual Finance Act, circulars and notifications issued by CBDT. So this is what I wanted to explain in this module. Happy learning. Give your valuable suggestions and feedback. Thank you.